Let's make nail polishes out of my decluttered eyeshadows. I'm so excited for this video. I've already made a few nail polishes, spoiler alert. I've been playing around with this and it is just so much fun. So I have a bunch of pressed eyeshadows that I have decluttered previously, as well as some loose pigments, which as much as I love loose pigments, for the most part I just forget to reach for them. And I was going to do a video where I mix some of the decluttered shadows together and create kind of new shades. And then I thought, well, then I can't really use those shades on camera. So I thought nail polishes would be great. I wear nail polish all the time, so I really feel like I will get the most usage out of these eyeshadows. I do want to mention that it would actually be loose pigments that would be used to create nail polishes, because pressed eyeshadows have binders in them, and that doesn't really mesh well with mixing them into the nail polish solution. So I have an example to show you here. This is the first nail polish I made, and I used 2 pressed eyeshadows. I scraped them out of the pans and put them in here and then mixed them in, and they are continuously separating from the liquid, and one of the shades did stain the liquid. So this is, you know, not too much of an issue, because there are 2 metal balls in here that I can just use to shake it up, but I would have to shake this up every time before I use this nail polish, which is not ideal. But on the other hand, if I use a loose pigment, it is always going to remain fully mixed in, like this one and this one. As you can see, it's nice and even throughout. These have sat on my desk for a few days and they have not settled like the other shade, and that one starts to settle almost immediately after you start shaking it. So just a note, if you do want to create nail polishes out of pressed eyeshadows, it is something to keep in mind. So in this video I will do 1 nail polish using pressed eyeshadows, and then the other 2 I will use loose pigments, because it is just so much easier and also just easier to mix as well. So I showed you these 2 nail polishes I made from loose pigments. This is actually a Dieverune Cosmetics pigment. This is Sphinx Moth, and this one is from their Moon and the Moth eyeshadow palette collection, and those were limited edition. So I thought, why not make them a little bit more permanent and make them into nail polishes. This one shifts from like a bright green, has a little bit of brown base, shifts to purple and to blue. Such a stunning shade. This one I created with pigments I purchased from TKB Trading, which is where I got the nail polish mix, and we'll get into those details. But this one is not fully really mixed in here. I mixed a red metallic pigment with like an iridescent gold kind of shifty shade. This is another one using a Dieverune Cosmetics shade. This one is Rosy Maple Moth, and this one is one of my favorites. It is so punchy, so vibrant, so shifty. This is another one I made using TKB pigments, so it's like a copper shimmery shade with a bunch of gold sparkles in it. And with this one also used TKB Trading pigments, and then the last one I used loose eyeshadow pigment that I have that I knew I wasn't gonna get any use out of. So those are the nail polishes I made so far. I made a few other ones. So let's get into the details on what I have here. I have these little measuring spoons. The one I will be using is Drop. This one fits perfectly into the upper section of the bottle. For the bottle, I have a few different ones. So this one I bought from TKB Trading, and then these bottles I bought from Amazon. I do prefer the smaller sizes, because the really full size of nail polish is just a lot of nail polish, and this way I get just to create way more. So I'm really liking these, that I'm going to be using these. The other thing are these metal balls that you put in here to be able to just shake it and mix the pigment in there. And then I have a little pestle and mortar. This is only for the pressed eyeshadow, because I have to really make sure to grind it down as much as I can into a very loose pigment. Otherwise, it will definitely separate like that nail polish a lot more. I also have these wooden sticks that I just broke down. I'm going to use these to kind of pre-mix before I start shaking with the metal ball in there. You can just kind of use that, but you have to shake it a lot. Like a lot. So I like to kind of pre-mix a little bit and then finish off doing the shaking. I also have some gloves, and then for the main star of the show, I have the TKB nail polish luster base. I do want to mention I switched out the cap on this, so it is one of these caps, and this fits absolutely perfectly right in there. So this is really not messy at all, like at all. The only thing that would be really messy in here is the pigments, but in terms of this liquid, it is very controlled in here, and I don't get it everywhere. Of course, I do get it on the end of this, but I just put this aside onto a paper towel. So I have a paper towel set down. So these are all the things I have here to start to get into it. So let's see what I come up with. So for the first nail polish, I'm gonna mix these two. So this is a Clarity Cosmetics shade from their Mermazing palette. I absolutely hated that palette minus the shimmers. And those shimmers in there are a little bit on the looser side, so I feel like this is going to mix pretty decently with the nail polish base. So I don't remember the name of this one. I just took the shimmers out of that palette and threw the rest out because it was absolutely atrocious. And then this is an extra shade from the Ensley Rain Cold Moon palette. So when they originally sent me the palette in PR, a couple of the shades were really squishy and I let them know about it and they said that that was not meant to be like that, so they sent me replacements. So this is the original shade. I don't know which one, but this one has a little bit of hollow in it, so I feel like that'd be really fun. So I'm gonna be mixing these two in here. I'm just gonna kind of start scraping out. I don't really think you need a lot of pigment in there, but I definitely notice the more pigment you use, the more opaque it is. And I do like, as much as I like being able to control like how, if I just want like a very light coat of the nail polish, I do kind of want this one to be a little bit more opaque for sure. And so far I haven't noticed it necessarily affecting the consistency of the nail polish either. So I'm just gonna probably scrape like a bunch of this, and then let's see. The thing is with making these nail polishes, what I've learned so far is it's pretty hard to know what you're gonna get until you mix it, and then you kind of just have to add more as you like. So obviously the more of one shade there is, that's what you're predominantly going to get. So that looks really pretty. Oh my gosh, it's like giving it a little bit of a silvery reflect. I'm super excited about this one. So I'm just gonna remove that, and then I'm gonna take this and the little one, and then it seems like I have quite a bit of pigment, and it is a little bit flaky, so we'll see how that really translates. Come on, get out. And then I'm just gonna put a lot, like quite a bit in here. I have tried to reverse it, so I tried it with putting the nail polish base in first and then the pigment on top. That does seem to help a little bit with mixing for sure, but it gets a little bit messy because the pigment will stick down right in here, so it's not necessarily the best. So that's actually quite a bit of a lot of it, so I think I'm gonna stop there, and I'm gonna add just one ball. These are pretty small, but you could definitely do two. I did put my gloves on, but I usually don't because, like I said, this way I really don't get any of the nail polish anywhere because I'm able to contain it completely. Sorry, I just completely covered the camera. So here I'm filling it up, and I fill it up about up to right here. And thankfully the nozzle also kind of like, once you stop pressing, it stops squeezing out more. So here's what that looks like now. So I'm going to take one of my mixy sticks, and I'm just going to start kind of helping it mix a little bit. Ooh, that looks so pretty. I'm so excited. I'm going to put each of them on my nail at the end of the video. Not like on the full hand, but oh, that looks so beautiful. I'm really excited about this one. And I have enough pigment, I could probably make another one, which I actually might because it is a stunner. So just mixed it, and then now I'm gonna kind of put it on the edges here. I feel like, do I want to add a little bit more? Maybe not. So I'm gonna put the cap in there, and then now I'm just gonna shake it to further mix it. And look at that, you can definitely see the hollow in there. At least I can from my angle. And I tend to like to hit it on the palm of my hand. So here's what this one looks like. I feel like the light is blowing it out a little bit. It is such a beautiful shade. Super excited about how that one came out. So I'm going to take my gloves off. So next I'm going to be using some loose pigments. There are some eyeshadows I put into some of these that I've emptied, like this one for example. This is also a Clarity eyeshadow. I just decided to put it into one of these. And then I also have this P. Louise. This is like one of the very first shades they ever launched called Gold Digger. and I just never use it. So I'm definitely gonna make a nail polish into that one. And these are so much easier to mix, obviously, because they're already all loose. So that I also have some It's Belle Cosmetics, and these are all PR. So these ProGlitz ones and these It's Belle ones. So this is Stellar Halo from It's Belle, and I got this one in PR, and this one is actually this nail polish. It is such a stunner. So I have a lot to choose from. So let me just kind of gather a couple of options. Generally, I like to mix like an iridescent with a slightly like a mid-tone kind of shade. Okay, so I have decided. So this one, I actually don't have a label on this one, but this one is from ProGlitz, and I'm going to be mixing it with Prism. So this is a really beautiful kind of pinky blue reflecting shade. It is so sparkly. And then Prism flashes kind of orange, and it shifts to green and teal. It's of course not really getting captured because it's getting blown out. It just looks white like most iridescent shades. So I'm gonna mix these two for one nail polish, and then for the second nail polish I have Rosinka and Cosmic. It's like green to purple, and then this one is like a pinky peachy to orange. So I'm really curious. This is such a stunning shade. Oh my gosh, so pretty and extra sparkly. And these are just going to be so quick to mix in here. And then this one, I definitely see also purple, so it's just a lot happening. Yeah, it's not gonna really capture on here, but I'm really curious to see how these end up looking. I did wipe off my little scooper, so let's get into some mixing. So I'm gonna just open these up, have them ready. So basically now I'm gonna decide if I want it to be predominantly this color and then just a hint of that, or vice versa. And I'm kind of feeling like I want to do that because I usually tend to put too much of the kind of darker shade. So I'm just gonna, oh my gosh, it's gonna be so pretty. So I'm gonna do one scoop of that, and I'm just gonna put a bunch more, and I'm just gonna do a little bit more of this one, and I'm gonna pick up this. I'm just gonna do one more scoop. So this is definitely gonna be probably pretty sheer, so I think I'm just gonna add a little bit more of this one and a little bit more of this one, but I do predominantly want it to be this color. So I'm gonna stop it right there. I'm gonna leave these open just in case I want to add more. I'm gonna add a little metal ball in here. I put my gloves back on, and we're gonna fill this up. I'm gonna have to straighten it up once it's kind of getting close to the top. There we go. Super easy, mess free. So I'm gonna mix sticks, and I'm gonna start mixing it in here. And oh my goodness, that looks so cool. That is so fun. I'm super curious to see how that looks on the nail, because it, you know, sometimes it looks a certain way in here, but then when you put it on your nail, it'll be very interesting for sure. So I'm just gonna, so I feel like that's mixed pretty well. So I'm gonna put that aside, and I'm gonna cap it, and I'm just gonna shake it a little bit. That looks super interesting. Can't wait to put it on the nails. It is definitely lighter, which is what I wanted. It has just that hint of that purple pink from the other shade, so loving that one. I'm gonna put the metal ball in now. It really doesn't, I know, as far as I know, it doesn't really matter which way. I've done both ways and it doesn't make a difference. So first I'm gonna use this peachy shade. I'm gonna do 3 scoops of that one, about 3 scoops. And then I'm gonna do also 3 scoops of this one. We'll just see how that mixes. And then I feel like I should add a little bit more. I definitely think I prefer to add more than less of the pigment. So I'm gonna do 1 more scoop of each, and then filling it up. Taking my wooden mixer. Oh, that looks super cool. It kind of looks a little similar to the shade before this one, so I'm very curious to see how they compare, even though they're very different pigments, but maybe somehow we'll end up with two very similar shades. So this one's also a little bit lighter. Capping it. And here's what that one looks like. So here's the three of them. Okay, so you can definitely see a difference. They're definitely all on the lighter side. It's time to try them on. Let me know in the comments below if you have any name suggestions. So I think I actually should add a little bit more liquid in this one. It's not fully filled up, but I guess it doesn't really matter. Ooh, that one is so ultra shiny. It looks a little bit beigey, but also peachy. Very, very sparkly. So that's one coat of that one. This is the second shade. Any name recommendations, let me know. And I really love these brushes, even though it's like just some random thing from Amazon. I think they're actually pretty nice, and they spread the nail polish really nicely. So I could see a little bit of that purple and the pink, but they're definitely looking a little bit similar, which is so funny to me. How did I, of course, end up making the most similar shades ever? And this is the very first shade with a little bit of hollow in it. So we'll see what that one looks like. This one's pretty sheer. I think it's because of the nature of the pigments that I mixed, because the square pan pigment's definitely more flaky, and actually the other one, the clarity shade, was also a little bit like chunkier flakes. It wasn't really finely milled pigment anyway, even when I kind of mushed them together. So here's what the three nail polishes look like just with one coat. And here is a second coat. Definitely even more extra sparkly. I can see all the little green flecks throughout it, which is super fun. And then here's second coat on these two. You can see a bit more of a difference, and the shift is a little bit different. I could see green shift here, while this one shifts more like an orangey yellow. But they do look pretty similar straight on, which is so funny. And I think that's part of the fun. At least I haven't been able to personally like figure out what these are going to end up looking after I mix them. So since these three look so similar, I'm going to leave this one, which is the first one I did. I'm going to leave that one alone, but I'm going to be adding more pigment into these to kind of push them a bit further away from each other. So I'm going to add more of the Rosinka shade, which should make this just a little bit technically slightly darker than this one. And then I'm going to be adding more of Cosmic in here, which has that green to pinky purple shift in it. So this should help to distinguish these a bit more. Try to get as much off of the kind of this section here. I am going to end up getting some of the nail polish on here because I'm going to be really trying to get in there, and we do have that base in there already, so I'm just gonna have to keep that in mind. And also I can just wipe it off. So I'm just gonna add at probably, honestly, I think I'm gonna do like 3 scoops just to really make sure to push this really further away from what it was, and probably add a bit more pigment. I could shake it, but I'm just gonna mix it first with the stick. Just kind of pre-mix it, if you will, first. And that definitely looks, so I'm gonna do actually like 2 more scoops just to really make sure that it's gonna be quite different. I'm just gonna use the mixer again, and then try to get as much off as I can here. And then put this back in here, and I'm just gonna shake it now. And that definitely looks a lot more pink and less iridescent. So same thing with this one now. Oh, it's so pretty though. It's definitely very pretty. I think I could add actually more liquid in here as well. It's not fully full. And just gonna pop that in there. And again, I'm gonna add quite a few scoops in here. Just really want to make sure this changes a lot. I think that might be good. Let's see, I'm using a clean mixing stick. I'm gonna try my best to really disperse that in here. I feel like I should add a bit more. So let me do just like 1 more scoop here. Maybe 2 just to be safe. And then we're gonna mix again. to take it on the edges. Trying to get as much off as possible. And then I'm gonna wipe off this top here, and I'm just gonna shake it. I'll probably start putting 2 of the little balls in there just to really make sure that it's even easier to shake through. So these are now, I would say, pretty different from each other. So let's put these all on the nails. Here's, for reference, the first shade I did. Just 1 coat for now. And then this one that I just added all that iridescent green flashing pigment. I feel like this one looks pretty similar to this one actually. I think it might be more noticeable maybe in the light, and then the pinky one is gonna go here. Yeah, that one's definitely way more different now. Super, super shiny. You can see a little bit more of like silver. Though when I look at an angle, I can see a yellow shift here, a blue shift here, and a pink shift in this one, which is really interesting. But look at how shimmery and sparkly they are. So pretty. And here's with 2 coats on. Super, super sparkly and shiny. This one looks a little bit more silvery, and this one's more like gold a little bit, and this one's obviously pink. So I hope this was fun to watch. Let me know if you would like to see a part 2, and what kind of shades would you like to see. I would love to hear from you, and also leave your name suggestions for these 3 shades that I created. And thank you so, so much for watching. I hope to see you next time.